Hey Aquanuts, welcome back to the Aquanut podcast. In this episode, we have Erik from way down in Florida talking to us about the Florida market and how they do things down there. It's an interesting podcast. I'd also like to let you know that this episode of the Aquanut podcast is brought to you by PoolRx. Do you battle algae every summer? Do you want to swim in less chlorine and other chemicals? Would you like to simplify your pool care? If the answer to any of these questions is yes, we have the product for you. PoolRx will help you in this coming year do just that. You simply place the PoolRx unit in your pool pump basket and the minerals go to work. PoolRx will eliminate and prevent all types of algae, and by doing this, PoolRx will reduce your chlorine demand typically by 50%. So you can use less chlorine, and in this coming year, 2021, that's going to be a good thing. PoolRx is effective for up to 6 months. That's right, up to 6 months. For longer seasons or tough conditions, or for even larger pools, you can add a PoolRx booster mineral pack if needed. PoolRx is an EPA registered algaecide, and that means PoolRx is safe for your people, your pets, and your pool environment. Visit poolrx.com for more information. And now, let's get into the podcast with myself and Erik. Hello, my name is Derek. Welcome back to another episode of the Aquanut podcast. Today, I have with me Erik. Erik, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Erik Taylor. I own Chlorine King Pool Service. I'm in Seminole, Florida, which is, for you guys who aren't familiar with the area, basically about 30 minutes away from Tampa, so as a landmark. And I own a service and repair company. We're state licensed contractors, and also enjoy social media. I enjoy watching Derek's stuff and listening to it. And I got my own social media. I really enjoy helping people.
Yeah, so you're like me. You've got a YouTube channel where you teach people to do stuff. I've got a YouTube channel in addition to the YouTube channel that this is on, and you've got a podcast too.
Yep. Not as cool as his though. I like the video format. Mine's just audio.
Yeah. It's got some good information on there. I've listened to I think the last 4 or 5. They're nice small, like 25-minute sound bites where you can just listen. To do a little bit of icebreakers, what do you like to do for fun?
Well, really, I don't have a lot of free time running the business and doing the social media. I mean, it's how long it takes to do social media on top of your business. But as far as I enjoy cycling, even though I don't look like it, I enjoy shooting firearms in my spare time. Love shooting guns. And other than that, I'm much of a homebody. I'm not a go out on the night kind of guy normally. I enjoy researching and just trying to better myself so I can better the people that are watching my stuff.
Did you go to that party last night? The Pool and Spa convention put on a party last night.
They do every year. This year I didn't attend. I went out with the Riptide guys. We do an annual get together and going out to dinner. Great people, and that's what I chose to do last night.
Music was so loud we couldn't even talk to each other. I'm like, this is supposed to be a mix and mingle event, and
Yeah.
you have to be yelling at someone. I don't like yelling at people.
No, and I was blown away actually. I don't know if you know. Well, this is your first year down here at this show?
No.
Okay, so they actually had a DJ on the entranceway yesterday playing music when you go to walk in the expo. That was the first year I've seen a DJ. I'm like, wow, it's crazy.
I don't think I've seen a DJ at any of the pool.
Yeah, there was one yesterday over by, how you walk by registration. On the right-hand side by the bathrooms, there's a DJ with a full deal playing yesterday morning. It blew me away.
Wild.
Yeah.
I was doing this yesterday morning. I was trying to help you people listening and watching. I was trying to help you guys out. So, Erik, if I ask everybody this, if you were going to be a superhero, who would you be and why?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think I would probably be Superman. He just does it all. He can go anywhere he needs to in a quick manner. He's bulletproof, Plus the ladies like him, so That's basically it. Probably a pretty bland answer, but I've never been asked that before.
When we interview people for a job with our company, we ask that question every single time.
So what's the most common answer you get?
Superman is the most common answer that we get.
Hopefully you hire them based off that.
No, that's more of a catch them off guard question, just to kind of see how they think on their feet, as well as to kind of get a judge of their character.
Gotcha.
And our industry is such where there's a lot of bad apples out there, which is one of the reasons why we're doing this podcast, to help educate the homeowners on the bad apples, and that's what you and I are going to talk about in this one, as well as pool pros that are, maybe they have been taught the wrong way or the wrong method, or they have the wrong kind of attitude. So I want to make sure that I weed those people out before I hire them, and it's an extremely difficult process. Sometimes it's like throwing mud up against a wall and seeing if it sticks. But we've got a really good team now, and from what I hear, you do too.
Yeah, we're doing extremely well. The growth is going very well. The first several years I was in business, I purposely tried staying small because I didn't want to grow and lose that quality control that you can over smaller business. But it got to the point where I was getting so much business coming to me, I felt foolish just giving it away. So this year I decided to go ahead and let it just grow like a weed, like it wants to, and manage it the best I can.
On that note, finding bad apples, how would a homeowner, say it's a new pool owner, they just moved into a house, they've got this pool in their backyard and they know nothing about it, how would they go about finding an actual pool pro instead of a pool pirate? What are some of the things that they would do?
The first thing, I'm sure you do the same thing. If you want to go check out a new restaurant or a new source of entertainment, a new bowling alley, the first thing most people do is go to Google, right? So you Google whatever it is. Most people search pool cleaning service, and then Google will give you a list of services. It's always good to go, generally speaking, with the companies that have the most feedback and the most positive feedback. That's a good starting point because most pool, at least in my area, most companies only have 4, 5, 6 reviews over a several year period. To me, that's a little. It throws up a red flag to me because it says, well, are they really doing good work? If people aren't willing to leave a positive review, is that a bad thing? So I would start looking towards companies that have higher review counts, and also the higher the star, obviously, the better. And then, secondly, once they narrow it down to a couple people, always get multiple estimates. I always tell my people when I go on estimates, please shop around, because to me, that will validate my presentation, because all estimates are as a presentation, and show my value that I bring to the table, because I can guarantee you that most pool companies, especially the pool pirates, aren't offering that kind of presentation and service. So to go even further, then I would ask the clients to ask questions. How do you service? Are you consistent? Just ask a bunch of questions, and you'll get a feel out, if the company's a good fit for you or not.
So I've answered this question in other podcasts. Someone is out there right now probably listening to this for the first time, and they don't know what a pool pirate is. And my definition of a pool pirate is a guy or gal that is not really a pool pro, but someone who has decided that they can make a couple of bucks going into somebody's backyard and telling the homeowner that they can fix whatever problem, and they take the homeowner's money. They might go back in the backyard and fiddle with something, and then they just leave, never to be heard from again. So they're pirates. They're just out there taking people's money, and I despise those people.
I do too, absolutely, 100%.
Because they give us a bad name, because you and I have worked hard to build our business and build it up to where we got some good rep. Now I'll ask you. My company has in the 60s as far as Google reviews go, and I think we got about a 4.9.
Mm-hmm.
Is that good? Is it
No,
decent?
that's a company I would call for sure.
Okay,
Yep.
excellent. So call my company.
Yep, definitely.
That's what Eric is saying. shameless plug there.
Just for the record, I got 130 something, so definitely call me too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if you're in his
Yeah.
his area, 130 something. That's awesome. Like after the video's over, I'll have to ask you how you manage that.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
People are like they don't want to leave them. So if you get a company that has a bunch and it's good.
Yeah, ask them what their turnover rate is. So I know for my company, I'm sure Derek's very similar. Unless the house is being sold, I can honestly say I've never lost a pool service account due to bad service. It's usually they're moving, the house sells, what have you. But it's the pool industry, the service industry in general for the pool business is you get what you pay for. The $60 a month people, you're not getting a good service. There's no money in it, so they're gonna have to cut corners. Like you said, the pool pirates who really don't care about the pool and thus just take your money and hope you're okay with it.
Now, I want to touch on two things there. One, you mentioned $60 people cleaning a pool for $60. That is
A month.
That is definitely a Florida thing, and
Yes.
that's definitely someone that is probably a pool pirate. They
Absolutely.
went to the big box store and they bought their stuff, and I don't want to say they don't know what they're doing, but
More oftentimes than not.
they're definitely. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but that is way too cheap. In my area, it's about $275 to $375 per month. Now
That's
is
awesome.
a full service.
Sure.
We're doing everything. If the pool turns green, there's no extra cash coming out of my customer's pocket. We take care of that. If it turns green, it's our fault. Now I know that some of the people in Florida, their rate is just for their labor, and then they charge extra for chemicals. I just did it because it was just I didn't want to have to keep up with it. I just wanted a flat rate, take care of everything, and I can focus on making sure the pool is right versus making sure that
You're billing for every little thing.
For every little thing and nickeling and diming the customer. And that's a business model that a lot of people have. It's just not one that I chose to have.
I'm the same way. I'm a one-stop deal. I don't nickel and dime. The rate's the rate. I don't even, some companies bill for 5 weeks, when it's a 5-week month. I don't even do that because I don't want to lose track of, I forgot to bill, or, if my guys need a week off or something, I don't have to worry about it because they're not paying for those 4 weeks. So I'm the same way.
Yeah, we don't bill monthly or weekly. It's
per visit.
We don't bill per visit. It's per month, and we take our money at the beginning of the month for that month. It's just good business practices. So on that note, talking to the pool pros or the pool guys and gals out there that want to make it to that next level, that want to become pool pros, and the homeowners out there are just going to have to kind of listen to this and kind of learn a little bit. How can they make that leap? Where can they go to get the knowledge?
Well, I think first off, you start with my YouTube channel or Derek's YouTube channel. We put off a lot of good information. My channel's geared a lot towards the pool professional and not so much the homeowner. So you could start there. There's some other great YouTube channels. David Van Brunt has a great one. My friend Robert, Clean Pool and Spa, he's local to me. He has a great YouTube channel. So start there. That's free education. Then from there you can start learning, listening to podcasts. Again, both of us have one. David has one, and then the Pool Chasers has a really good podcast. So you can look there as well for free education. Then from there, It's a very basic thing, but I would recommend getting the CPO. So that way you can have a basic understanding of how commercial pools work or just pools in general. And then from there, just keep soaking up as much information as you can and I'm always a strong advocate of knowledge is power in the pool industry because there's so many people that don't truly understand what's going on. In fact, I was sitting with a buddy of mine in a salt generator course yesterday, and the questions that some of these pool professionals were asking, it really sort of freaked me out, for one, because they're out in people's backyards. And secondly, it reaffirms that the rates that I charge for my area are solidified because that's my competition. So I think you guys should really try to learn every little bit you can. When I first started my business, if I didn't know an answer, I went home and researched it as soon as I got home, and I still research to this day. I love knowledge because to me that gives me the ability to give the homeowner a better and more thorough service.
Sure. Now, you mentioned a CPO for the homeowners out there, and well, hopefully all of the pool people know
Hopefully.
what that is. Hopefully. But for the homeowners, that is a certified pool operator. So what that basically is a 3-day class where you are trained on all facets of pool chemistry, how to properly size a pool to get the accurate gallons.
Correct.
Because I'll have people come into my retail store and they'll be like, "What do I need to fix my pool because it's green?" And I'll be like, "Okay, well what's the gallons?" And they'll throw out a guess, and I'll be like, "Okay, well based on that guess,
Yeah.
I can give you X, but I don't know what that's going to do," because proper dosing really depends on the gallonage.
Absolutely.
And it's even more so in a spa. There is a huge difference between a 400-gallon spa and a 300-gallon spa.
Oh yeah.
And people don't think that's a big deal, but it's a huge difference in how much chemicals you're going to put in a spa. You really want to make sure the dosing, and the CPO classes go over that. And like Erik said, it's kind of like an entry level
Definitely
thing. But I would say that you would want somebody that either has a CPO or is working for somebody that has a CPO or one of the comparable. There's a couple of different
courses,
courses now. It doesn't have to be a CPO. I don't know what the other.
They used to do AST, but I think they're changing that because those two organizations joined up, so they're making a new course. Yeah. But they have several different courses geared towards the technicians.
Yeah. And there's courses for people that inspect pools. There's courses for people who build pools. So there's a bunch of different courses out there, and we're at one of the pool and spa shows.
Expos, yeah.
So there's courses here, and if a pool pro is not going to at least one of these every year, then I believe that they should. And as a homeowner, you should maybe ask, "Hey, what courses have you taken?" And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but ask them, "Hey, what shows have you been to learn new stuff?
What education do you do?" And it's a funny story. He's talking about measuring gallonage. So I, probably a year or two ago now, I got an account because the guy couldn't keep the pool clear. And I was talking with the homeowner, like, well, what was he doing? The homeowner basically stated that the technician was treating the pool for a 10,000-gallon pool. And I looked at it, I said, there's no way there's 10,000 gallons in this pool. I measured it off, 22,000 gallons. This guy was never putting enough chlorine in it because he didn't understand the simple rule for measuring the gallonage of the pool. And like Derek was saying, it's very important to make sure you know the gallonage and dose it properly. That guy clearly wasn't, and because of that, he lost the account. Yeah. That's a pool pirate.
Yeah.
Not a pool pro.
And I have customers that will throw out, gallons, and I'll have to, go and look at it and be like, yeah, you're close. And on the bigger gallon pools, it doesn't matter a whole lot if it's, 28,000 gallons or 27,000 gallons. That's relatively close. So you can kind of get on. But That guy was 15,000 gallons off, something like that.
And the problem with that is, his problem was he wasn't dosing the pool properly. But if you're the other way around, you're significantly overdosing that pool and making it dangerous for the swimmers.
Right.
So, I mean, that's why it's so important to understand the basic measure of gallonage.
How many people do you have in your area that absolutely swear that their pool is 10 feet deep and it's only 8?
Yeah, oh yeah, all the time. Oh, that thing's at least 12 feet deep, and you know, you stick your 8-foot pole in there, and it does, you know, it's still sticking out. So I'm like, no, that's an 8-foot pool, you know, and it happens all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the time.
I've had to actually drop a measuring tape because the guy was like, no, that's a 10-foot deep pool. No, it's not. Listen, guys, anything deeper than 8 foot is rare, so you probably have an 8-foot deep pool. That's very, very common. Now, if you have a custom built pool or you had your pool built and you specified that you wanted something deeper. I've actually seen a 17-foot deep pool.
Wow.
That was legit 17 foot.
Wow.
And the guy had it built for his son that was training to be a professional diver.
Okay, well, that would make sense. I mean, that would be horrible to have to vacuum each week.
Right? Yeah,
Oh, that'd be horrible.
One of those 25-foot commercial pools. So we just talked about gallonages. You mind if we get off pools for just a second?
Absolutely.
What are you most excited about in the pool industry? So not talking about specifically pools. What are you most?
I think since I've started the business, I think it's almost 5 years now, I've seen a shift because when I first started, most of the pool technicians and company owners were older guys. They're starting to phase out. Newer young guys that enjoy the use of technology is starting to take place. I've noticed a huge shift in technology change for the industry, better testing measures, you know, more technology to give to the service customer and all that kind of stuff. So I'm excited about that. And then I'm also super excited about, you know, having the ability to help change the industry. Like, I really feel like I'm starting able to have a presence to mold the industry into a better industry. You know, when I first thought about starting a pool business, I'm like, no, I don't want to get into that. It's a bunch of broke, desperate, you know, people that just fly by the seat of the pants. Like, I had that prejudice against the pool industry, and I've noticed that, you know, trying to make the industry more professional career, like an electrician or a plumber, is actually very possible. And I've noticed that's starting to take place. I'm excited to be a part of that.
I couldn't agree with you more. And that, you know, that's kind of my motivation behind doing a lot of the stuff that I do. I'm on social media. We've got the swimming pool and spa owners group, and I think some of the pool pirates absolutely hate that I have that group, and they're like, "Well, you're teaching DIYers how to do stuff that a pool pro should be doing." Not really. There's certain things like heater, like. If a pool owner should not be messing with a heater unless they are an HVAC tech and they're licensed, they should not be messing with a heater.
Absolutely.
But you know, telling a homeowner in a group or a pool owner in the group is, hey, don't put the tablets in the skimmer, put it in a feeder. That's not harming us.
Well, you know what the funny part is? Most of the pool pirates are the ones doing that too.
Right.
You know, so yeah, they're gonna hate.
I'm gonna tell you this. In my area, I don't know about yours, but in my area, about 80% of the people put tablets in the skimmer, and they won't let us put a feeder on. I mean, feeders $100-$150, something like that. It's you know, very, very cheap.
Say goodbye to all your seals.
Yeah, but they won't let us put a feeder on until something happens.
And that's the huge thing that I've noticed with homeowners. You know, so I'm glad we're touching on the homeowner side of things too, because the homeowners need to be further educated, which I hope they're paying attention to our content, because the number one thing I get from homeowners, oh, I'm happy with my $80 a month pool service because he keeps my pool clear. Well, that doesn't mean the pool's safe. That doesn't mean they're maintaining your equipment. That doesn't mean they're protecting the life of your surface. like the tablet thing you're talking about. That ruins all your seals. That's going to ruin your heater exchange if you got a copper exchange, a gas heater. That's going to degrade your filter element much quicker because it's super acidic water that sits there and slowly dissolves overnight. And then when the pump comes on, the entire system gets a huge shot of super acidic water. So yeah, they're not damaging it today, but they're certainly shortening the life of not only your equipment but your surface, and possibly setting up for dangerous swimming conditions with the quality of the water.
And that's much more prevalent. I mean, granted, you don't want tablets in the skimmer, and I try to teach people that. And to be honest, Eric, you don't have a retail store, do you?
No, sir.
Okay, so whenever people come into my retail store, I'm like, hey, you need to get this feeder. And they think that I'm just trying to make money off of them. And to be honest, there's not really enough profit on these feeders for me to buy myself a Happy Meal.
Yeah.
So I'm really just trying to help homeowners, but they don't see it that way. They see me, the guy behind the counter, or one of my ladies being like, hey, you should have this feeder.
Yep.
And we've got feeders set up all over our retail store to say, hey, look, these feeders are happening. But there's been so many pool guys and gals in my area that haven't even talked about feeders for so long that we'll have pool owners that have had pools for 20 years and they've never even heard of a feeder.
Yep.
And I'll start talking about it, and they're like, "What is this new thing?" I'm like, "It isn't new. There isn't much new in the industry, except for what I'm jacked about, and what a pool owner should be jacked about is the technology that's coming out there." So I got myself off track, but if you're putting tablets in a skimmer, it's much worse if you have one of these old single speed pumps. And I know there's still thousands of them out there, but typically single speed pumps run for a certain amount of hours per day. They turn off, like you were saying, and that chlorine and acid that's in those tablets just kind of build up, and when the pump turns back on, it shoots into their system. It's less of an issue. It's still an issue. It's still an issue, but get a variable speed pump.
Run it longer so it don't sit as long.
Yeah, variable speed pumps are designed to run 24/7 at low speeds, and then a little bit of higher speed. But get a variable speed pump. I've kind of been the variable speed champion. How about this? What are some of the myths that you hear about in the pool industry that are just wrong but are still out there?
Well, I mean, the one we just talked about briefly was I'm happy with my pool guy because the pool's clear. Like we talked about, that doesn't mean that the pool's necessarily safe to swim in. Chemicals be way off. Most of those types of situations, the pool's etched to all craziness because they just have tablets in the skimmer all the time, low pH for a long period of time. So that's a myth. Just because it's clear doesn't mean it's safe. So that's a very good myth that needs to be debunked by the homeowners.
You want to talk about what you mean by etching?
Yeah, so basically the surface is very rough. It feels like sandpaper, like really, really coarse sandpaper. And what's happening, the surface is being deteriorated from the low acidic and low alkalinity conditions for an extended period of time. It's not pleasant to swim in. When you're walking along the floor of the pool, you feel like you're walking on sandpaper. If you dive in, you brush up against the wall, you might even get cut sometimes. So, I mean, it's severe deterioration of the surface in a much shorter period of time than what, it should have lasted for, from bad chemistry, generally speaking.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. The average person doesn't know what that means.
But a pool pro does, and that's the difference between a pool pro and a pool pirate. Pool pros will actually help maintain your surface correctly so it lasts as long as possible, where a pool pirate will do what we just were discussing and not really care about the surface. They just want that $60 or $80 a month.
Gotcha. So, as far as fun stuff happening in the industry, technology, and we talked about variable speed pumps, and that is actually coming. Like, I don't exactly know when this is going to air, but depending on when this airs, you've got about between 6 and 8 months left to get a variable speed pump with a rebate from your power company. And in my area, I think it's $350 to upgrade to a variable speed pump. But after that law goes into effect, and it goes into effect between 8 and 10 months, depending on when you're watching this, that rebate's gone.
Yeah.
Do you have a rebate in your area?
We don't have a rebate, but like he's talking about, there's going to be it's a federal mandate where manufacturers can't even manufacture single speed pumps now for main filtration systems. You're going to have to upgrade to variable speed. And that's what he's talking about, that rebate for the areas that do offer rebates are going to go away because now you have to have it. It's not a, hey, let's go green and we'll help you save some money to do so.
Yeah.
And I believe that's February 2021 that rule is being changed over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that it just makes so much sense.
It totally does.
Because you might spend an extra couple of $100 less with the rebates if your power company is smart enough to give you the rebates, but you're as a homeowner, you're going to save so much money on your power bill.
Absolutely.
Because, from what I hear, a swimming pool is the second largest consumer of energy in a home.
Below your AC unit?
Yeah, below the AC unit.
And it pulls more energy than all your other appliances combined. So if you have a way to save money through that energy hog, variable speed is the way to go.
And it doesn't even matter if it's an above ground pool. You can put a variable speed on an above ground pool. I figured it out. I had a lady that in variable speeds, they've been out for a while, but it's these single speed energy hogs have been so cheap for so long, and they've been out there and people have been hesitant to switch. But she's had an above ground pool for 20 years. And I figured it out. If she had a variable speed on her above ground pool, she would have had banked $10,000 in savings.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge. And another benefit of the variable speed pumps, much longer warranty generally than a single speed, depending on the manufacturer. They last longer because you're not running at full throttle from the time that it's on to the time that it's off, so it's not running as hard. And yeah, I mean, generally speaking, people save $600 to $1,000 a year off your power bill. So between years 1 and 2, the pump literally pays for itself, and then after that, you guys are literally pocketing $600 to $1,000 extra. That's a vacation for most people. So it would behoove you not to go to variable speed. Basically, is what we're trying to say.
Yeah. So, and the water filter's better if you're not forcing the water through the filter.
Heat's better.
Heat's better, and I don't know what's going on with the Florida market. I'm just going to pick on the
That's
Florida
all right.
market.
We get picked on all the time.
You guys have these tiny little filters that you have to clean every month. I don't know why you put these tiny filters on.
Most pools are screened in, so you don't see a ton of dirt. And again, it's from, and I'm not trying to put the blame all on the pool pirates, but it's from the people that are charging so little to install stuff, usually unlicensed, which in Florida, if you need a tool, you need a license is the way it goes. But they're putting in the cheapest filter they can to make some money off the client instead of recommending a properly sized filter. Now, our average pool size is anywhere from 8 to 12,000 gallons, generally speaking, so most pools don't actually need a quad filter, but when you recommend that to a person who does, they just like, wow, that's way too expensive for a filter. And I explain all the benefits, how you don't have to clean it as frequently, the vacuum will last longer or operate longer in between cleanings, and all that kind of stuff. It makes the pool chemistry easier to maintain because the filter's not being blocked with so much dirt and gunk because it's sized properly. They still look at you like you got 6 heads. They really do. They're like, I'm not spending $1,300 on a quad cartridge filter. They're like, I want a single bullet. So then, I'm usually putting in 250s, but still an appropriate filter, but you really can't go wrong in most instances putting in a larger filter than needed.
In my area, most filters are either properly sized or oversized, which is my preference. I would
Absolutely.
rather go too big on a filter than too small. I currently have an above ground pool, right? So I've got a 10,000 gallon above ground pool. I've got a 420 square foot cartridge
That's so
filter.
massive. I wish I could talk people into putting that on there because it'd be so beneficial. Yeah.
Well,
that's
I
awesome.
tell people all the time, I've got a $500 pool and $4,000 worth of equipment.
Hey, that's how it goes. That's funny, but yeah, we're notoriously known for having small filters. I know the California guys and Arizona guys laugh at us all the time, but most of our pools are screened in. We don't get the dirt blowing like Arizona does with their sand. So I mean, you can get by the smaller filter, even though I don't necessarily like it. But at the end of the day, you have to put in what the client wants, no matter what you can recommend.
So the technology, we talked about the variable speed pump. What a lot of people don't know is right now the technology exists where you can, if you have like a pool spa combo, or even if you don't, you can just be like, Alexa, turn on my pool lights.
Yep.
And that will that's great. Do you have a lot of that in the Florida market?
Yeah, so I have a couple clients that utilize Alexa with their automation systems. You know what's funny? I forgot this exact number, so don't quote me on the numbers, but it was something like 70% of people don't have automation because they don't even know about it. So, I mean, that falls on us to let the clients know that there's even stuff out there that exists like that. Automation's phenomenal. I mean, you can be in Tokyo and control your pool however you want it, and right from your cell phone. But like he was saying with the technology of Alexa, you can literally talk to Alexa, and it will do whatever you want with your pool. So it's really cool technology.
And even if you don't go to that that level where you're talking to Alexa, there's still, you know, a great benefit to having a fully automated system. Your cleaner can work without you having to be there, so it can turn on and run for the 3 to 4 hours per day. If you've gone to the point where you've got a chlorine feeder or a salt system, you can have your pool as maintenance free as you want it if it was built properly.
Absolutely. If it's misbuilt, you're going to be fighting. It's like a salmon upstream.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter how much technology that you put on there. It's going to help. Yes, but it's not going to help as much as if that pool was built properly.
Or, you know, a certain equipment situation like a 2 horsepower pump on a 50 square foot cartridge. I walked on that one time and I was like, wow. And she goes, yeah, we go through cartridges every couple months. It's like, that's because you have an extremely strong pump pushing all that water into a tiny filter. You're going to destroy it.
I had something similar where a homeowner who was an engineer, and I won't talk about...
They're always the best.
Yeah, those are the best guys because they know everything.
Oh, they just, yeah.
I might have to edit that part out. Anyway, so this guy built his pool and he had a 150-pound sand filter, which has a relatively small media area that can filter the water. That is typically the size of sand filter that I would put on a above ground pool. And he had a 2 horsepower single speed, and it was not filtering the water because
channeling, I'm sure.
Yeah, channeling. So what Erik just said is it literally channels, and it makes pipes. It pushes the water through the sand so hard that it will make pipes all the way down. It won't filter the water at all. It'll just push any dirt back into the pool. And he was going through motors, and you know, and no matter what I said, hey, let's put a smaller motor on here because you have to have the correct pump size for the filter.
Absolutely.
And I would have gone with a bigger filter or even a 3/4 horsepower pump. I would have definitely gone with a variable speed because even though you have a 1.5 horsepower motor on some of the variable speed pumps, you can crank that down. It's not the horsepower of the variable speed pump, and it's not the technology, it's what you can do with it.
And that's a great point that Derek just brought up. So if your pool is misbuilt and it has the worst, hydraulics or anything like that, you can take a variable speed pump and literally fine tune it to your pool to make it run the best as possible. Whereas with single speed, you only have one option, and then you're trying to guess, should I go 3 horsepower or 1 horsepower? Variable speed, you can put it on your pool and fine tune it for your exact pool, which is another great thing with variable speed.
Cool.
Yeah.
What is your favorite new tech out there?
So actually, I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to bring this up anyways when we started talking about it. I was over in the Janie booth yesterday, and they have a product similar to PHN. I believe that's a Hayward product. But for the homeowners out there, this may be something you guys want to be interested in because it's a device that you throw in the water, and it gives you, I think they said it measures 10 or 15 times a day your pool chemistry. And it will literally give you push notifications to your phone saying, hey, your pH is out of whack, you need to dose it, stuff like that. I'm pretty excited about that for the homeowner side of things because that's something that will help those DIYers take care of the pool better. So that technology is really great. I was ultra impressed. So my friend Joe at Primate Pools sent me one of their carbon fiber poles. For the service technician, it's several pounds off the pole that you're swinging around each and every day, which will make you feel more refreshed at the end of the day. That's the technology I'm pretty cool about. The entire pool is carbon fiber.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've seen them. I haven't tried them. Maybe you can get your buddy to send me one.
I could work on that.
Maybe he's watching this podcast and he can send me one. I haven't tried them. They're nice. I like my fiberglass pole, but a carbon fiber pole, man, that just sounds awesome.
Yeah. What about you? What's the technology that I'm changing rules here? I'm asking questions now. What kind of technology are you most excited about?
So the technology that I am most jacked about, we just touched on it. Variable speed pumps is like by far. I talk about variable speed pumps so much that people are like, Derek, would you shut up already? I just talk about it so much, and I really like the automation systems. Every manufacturer that's worth their weight make some type of an automation system, and I personally really like the ones that you have added the extra phone app to, because every manufacturer makes an automation system that is a standalone box, and then you have a add-on that you can control it with your phone. And even for some of our route customers, I've got all of the apps on my phone, and I've got a list of all of my customers. So I'll have customers call me, hey, something's going wrong with my pool, and I can pull up their pool on my phone, and sometimes I can fix it right on the spot there. So the phone apps are really awesome because heaters, I can go back and look, and if I'm having a conversation with somebody in a store, I can pull up, say, temperature. Because in my area, not yours, and I'm going to talk to you about that in a second, but in my area, it gets cold. And for whatever reason, there's a lot of people out there that think as soon as the temperature drops to 32, their entire pool is going to turn into a big iceberg. And that's not the case. The temperature would have to drop into the teens and stay there for a long period of time before you started to see, even the surface of the pool freezing. Now, if you don't have water moving in the pipes, and this is what you don't even know about.
Yeah, I don't even know about any of this stuff.
This
is all Spanish right now.
Yeah, Spanish. As long as the water is moving in the pipes in my area, there's no risk of freezing at all. So I can go in and I can look to see where the trends are, because especially the Pentair app, I can go and look the history on what the water temperature is and what the air temperature is, and I can take that and not telling where it came from, but I can show a couple of different graphs. Like, listen, the air temperature last night dropped to 28, but this pool temperature never dropped below 50 because it takes a long time for that.
Yeah. Now, I want to highlight a point that Derek just brought up about the difference between a pool pro and a pool pirate. Derek monitors his clients' pools from his phone and will change stuff on the fly when they need it. I do the same thing. I got a list on my apps of the client's pool's automation. A pool pirate's simply not going to do that. And that's where a huge difference between a pool pro and a pool pirate. We'll actually go above and beyond and do those changes where pool pirate may not even know how to work that stuff.
Yeah, they don't have that on their phone. They don't know. And guys, a lot of the times, I'm going in and it takes me, I don't know, 2 to 3 minutes. I'm not charging my customer for that. That's kind of built.
It's a value added service.
Yeah, it's built into the package. So something that a lot of people watching might not know is I offer a mentor service for pool pros, pool guys and gals that want to be pros. I only do just like a handful. You do it on like a larger scale, right?
Yeah.
So you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I've noticed when I first started getting some notoriety on YouTube and the podcast and all that, I started getting an influx of questions and just got an email this morning about someone starting their business and they want help. The unfortunate thing is there's only 24 hours in a day. We're running our own business. We're trying to keep food on our own family's tables, and I love helping people, but if I'm going to allocate time out of my day to help people, I start up a mentoring program to help with that, to a dedicated certain amount of people, because some days I don't have time to answer every email or text that comes in from a random person wanting my help. So yeah, I do offer on a little larger scale, but it's personalized help for anyone that wants to become a pool pro, or heck, even a homeowner. I have a homeowner that pays me to help them maintain their pool remotely. We do FaceTime calls, emails, and all that kind of stuff. So definitely, if you want some good help, check out either of our mentoring programs. I think it'll really help you get your business in the right way. One thing I really like to do is actually help on the business side of things too, not just how to do the pool cleaning or whatever. So I go over people's finances with them and create a budget for them and all that kind of stuff to further help them make sure they're set up for success.
Yeah, I do the same thing.
Yeah.
Because the finances is so key. And,
huge.
Homeowners are probably tuning out now, but it is something that affects a homeowner's experience with their pool guy, because if their pool guy or gal it is not managing their finances, and I had this happen once where a guy was out cleaning. It was wintertime in my area. Pools are real easy to take care of because algae is not growing.
Similar, yeah, in the colder water, yeah.
But April hit. Well, what happens in April? Everything starts blooming.
Yep.
He had already spent his money. He thought he was making bank. He didn't realize. And I tell people, and I don't advertise my mentoring program much. It's just people will come and they'll
Sure.
ask and be like,
Sure.
okay, well, I need to get some cash for this, and here's the time that I can give you, and it's totally worth it.
Oh yeah.
If a pool guy wants to make that leap, then they need to have a mentor.
100%.
And I don't know about you, but I have got 2 mentors in the industry. I've got a business coach. I've got a CPA. So even though I know a ton of stuff, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but I've got a fairly large business where I've got 15 to 20 people working for me. So I've got a fairly large business. But there's guys out there. Matter of fact, I had a conversation with one before you walked in. He's got 800 pools that he cleans every week.
Wow, that's a ton.
800. He says he moves a tractor trailer load of salt every year at least.
That's crazy.
So I talk to people who are further down the road than I am, and I believe that if a homeowner is going to hire someone. Yes, look at the Google. Yes, ask them if they have been to classes. But I mean, I don't think it's too far out of line to ask them, do they have a mentor in the industry?
I think it's a great question.
Somebody, and you know that some people might feel that that's getting too personal, but you know, these are your kids and your grandkids that you're letting swim in the pool, and if they get offended by that, well, you know,
They probably aren't the right company for you.
they probably aren't. And you know what? I'll tell you what's happening right now. There are pool people out there listening to this right now that are cussing us.
They're like, what?
Yeah, they're cussing us. And listen, I'm not promoting my mentorship program or yours because we only have a certain amount of hours in the day.
Exactly.
There's a lot of them out there, and there's a lot of people that are willing to give their time. But find somebody that you can call and ask questions, and you know, pay them. I asked a question of a guy that has a business that's about 10 times the size of mine just this past week. It was a very sticky thing that happened. It was a bad thing that happened on one of my clients' properties, and I'd be like, okay, this is how I'm handling it. And I sent him this question. It was a really long thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, listen, I want to ask you this, but I want to pay you. Because it's one of those things where you're asking somebody for their time.
Exactly.
And likewise, if a homeowner is talking to a pool pro, and if it's actually a person like you and I that's been in the business for well over a decade, we've gone to all of these classes. Our time is valuable, but it's not just our time, it's our knowledge.
Yep, all the mistakes we've made to get that experience and know-how. Yeah, it's funny things, you know, what you're talking about with the mentorship. I have 2 mentors, and every Christmas I send them a $500 gift card as a thank you for helping me throughout the year. You know, it's just, that's how I would want to be treated if I was mentoring a lot of people. You know, I'd want someone to appreciate my time because they don't have to answer the phone for me, but they do. They take time out of their day to help me. So, and that's something that for the pool pros out there, if we don't get back to you right away, just please understand, we're not trying to be mean or say, oh, we're not going to help you or anything like that. It's just we're so busy, especially with swim season starting up here soon, that we may not have time. Oh, another funny thing. So if you get Facebook messages, so when I get a Facebook message from some random person, it doesn't pop up my normal feed. Like there's a certain spot where I got to go look at it and stuff like that. And you know, someone will message me like a week ago, and I happen to see the little check mark by it, and I go look. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not neglecting you. I just didn't see that. So understand that too. That could be a thing like that.
That is a very, thank you for bringing that up.
Yes.
I've got 9 Facebook pages.
That's huge. That's a ton.
I've got 9 Facebook pages because I do a lot, and I give a lot of my time for free.
Yes.
To this industry. This podcast is free. The people watching, listening to it, you're not paying a dime for this. So we're giving this time for free. I've got 9 Facebook pages, and that happens when somebody messages one of those pages. Mm-hmm. I might not find it for a week, so just
or month.
Yeah. or a month. So just know that if you message one of my pages, I'm not ignoring you. It's not that I don't like you. It's probably that I haven't seen it. And this is something else. It's also text messages.
Yes.
Because I'm super busy. Mm-hmm. Like since we've been sitting here, I've gotten several text messages, Facebook messages, whatnot, that I haven't been able to answer, and I won't, because your time is valuable, and I respect that. I'll get back to you eventually, whoever it was that just messaged me.
That's funny.
So yeah, we're talking about that a bunch. Let me ask you this, kind of switching gears, and you were saying, hey, you were asking me questions. You want to ask me questions? I'll be happy to answer them. I will talk. What is your background? How did you get into this crazy industry that we call the pool industry?
Well, so my best friend took me out to do a pump. So let me backtrack a little bit. Excuse me. I used to work at a jewelry store for 5 or 6 years. I really enjoyed it, but there came a point where I started really following Dave Ramsey, which is an anti-debt, kind of guy, and so I started listening to him.
Pro Dave.
Yeah, I love Dave, and don't agree with his investing much, but I love his debt stuff. But anyways, started listening to him, and started studying wealthy people, and I came across a common denominator that every wealthy person seemed to have 2, 3, 4, 5 different revenue streams. So I'm like, well, I have the jewelry store here. Let's make another one. And right at that time, my best friend and I were talking about pools. He's been doing pools forever, and he took me out on a pump installation one time, years and years ago. And he made I think he said he cleared $300 in 45 minutes after he put the pump in. And to me, I was like, wow, that's like an entire, half of a week at the jewelry store, right? And so I had started researching it, got involved in the pool industry, and then finally started my own business, and the rest is history. And it quickly grew to the point because I wanted to start, a professional thing, not what I mentally thought the pool industry was, which in a lot of cases it was, but I wanted to do it differently. Since that point, it just blew up, and then I had 3 or 4 months in the jewelry store and the pool business at the same time, and the pool business grew so quickly, I left the jewelry store.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're trying to fight. Your old thought process.
Yes.
And a lot of homeowners have that. I can't tell you how many pool decks that I'll walk on, and I'll get this resistance because somebody has been on that deck that is a pool person. I'm another pool person, and they just lump me in without knowing what my knowledge is, what my background is, and they'll just kind of lump me in. And I'm trying to get I'll just say it. I'm trying to get rid of the pool pirates.
Yeah, because the problem is the pool pirate comes in and says, "Hey, I'll do your pool for $60 a month." Well, now that homeowner thinks that every pool company should be charging that rate, and I pay my guys twice the amount of the average rate in my area, so I can't go that low. There's no point. So we're trying to help everyone become more professional, raise the rates, because at the end of the day, I'd rather do 60 pools at $150 a month, which I know is that's what our rate down there is. That's a high rate for down there. I'd rather do 60 pools at $150 versus 250 pools at $60 a month. Everybody wins in the first scenario.
Yeah, and it's not just that we're trying to raise the rates so that we can make more cash. It's a quality thing. In your area, you can charge a little bit less than what I charge because you don't have the travel time. Sometimes in my area, we've got 15, 20 minutes between pools, and a couple of them we got a 45-minute drive.
Yeah, where in my area we got 5 pools on the same street. Oh, so I mean, you could park in one house, and until you run out of chemicals, you could literally walk your cart down to all the other pools. So yeah, that's the main difference I'm finding between higher rate areas is just the travel time, because windshield time you're not making anything.
Yeah, and it's not just the time that you're paying for. Like we keep saying over and over again. We probably said this too many times in this podcast already. It's the knowledge.
Absolutely.
It's the knowledge that you're paying for to get somebody that is going to make your swimming pool safe. Somebody that is going to make sure that you might be paying a lower rate because this guy is charging a lower rate, but he's not, what you were saying earlier, is maintaining the pump, the filter. Maybe he's not backwashing properly. So I mean, we have DE filters in my area, and if you blow out the DE grids, well, that's $300 or $400 in just the grids. Not even talking about the labor it takes to put those in. So now your $150 per week guy, that is in my area, that is super low. I couldn't pay for chemicals, gas, and the guy in the truck for that. I literally could not afford. I would be paying to clean that pool.
You'd have to get a part-time job to
Yeah,
make.
I would have to work a part-time job to be able to afford to charge that low in my area. Now, I wish that I could have 10 pools on a street. That would make it so much easier. But it's just that you ruin these guys are ruining pumps. They're ruining filters, and we have a lot of gas heaters in my area, and we have people ruining heaters.
Yeah, in as little as like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
The copper's gone. It's all over the wall of the pool now.
I had a customer during the wintertime putting tablets in the skimmer. His heater wouldn't fire up during the spring when he wanted to start using his pool. I went out there, and there's a certain way that you can test, but the firebox area, that's what I'm going to call it to keep it simple terms,
Yeah.
that was completely filled with water. So when I opened up the firebox, it was just shooting out. So I'm like, you need to replace your heater. And he's like, it's a 3-year-old heater. I'm like, you were putting tablets in your skimmer and wasn't testing your chemicals. So testing chemicals is big.
Oh, huge.
What kind of test kit do you use?
I like the Taylor 2006C kit. It's the one the health department recommends, and it's the one that I just seem to always, I've tried a bunch of them, but that's the one I always seem to come back to. It's very simple to use, and it's one of the cheaper testing options out there, really. I've tried using strips before. I just can't seem to color match well. So I don't know, we talked to how important it is to make sure we know the gallonage we're dosing. If I can't tell the difference between a 7.2 and 7.8, do I need to put acid in, or do I need to not put acid in? And if I do, how much? I can't tell with the strips, so I seem to go back to Taylor all the time.
Yeah, this is kind of a side note, but it's like 1 out of every 30 men are colorblind.
Interesting.
It's like 1 out of every 150 women are colorblind. So
interesting.
Like women can see more colors than men. Typically, so they have better color sight. So that's why you and I are wearing black, white, khaki pants. We're not colorful, but women they can
observe and appreciate the colors more than we can, I guess.
Yeah,
that's cool. That's a good little fact.
Yeah. So if you're having trouble matching the test strip, maybe go to the kit, and if you really have a problem, go to the pool store and have it tested. We tell people that come in our store that they need to test weekly.
Absolutely weekly.
Because a lot of them are not testing on their own. They don't have the Taylor test kit. And fun fact, if you go back to episode 2 of this, we had Wayne on.
Yeah.
And Wayne wrote that book that is in that Taylor test kit.
That's cool. He's a good guy. Wealth of knowledge.
Wealth of knowledge.
Yep.
It was a great interview.
Yeah, I watched that one the other day. It's a good one.
Yeah. Here's one. I may have asked this, or you may have answered it. What are some of the biggest mistakes that you see pool pros and/or homeowners making?
I think the biggest mistake that homeowners make is they add chemicals when we're not around. They don't let us know. So, they may introduce phosphates in the water, and then all of a sudden we've got an algae bloom, and they call us like we're at fault. And then you come to find out, a bunch of soap fell in the pool, or, they just had their lawn sprayed, and then a major rainstorm ran the chemicals in there and caused a phosphate bloom, which causes algae to grow. So that's a major thing I see from homeowners. Pool techs, like we talked about, skimmers in the basket. Another thing I see quite frequently is people will not wash their jerry jugs or acid bottles off before they put it on someone's deck, and then they stain the deck. I've seen that a lot by pool pros. Even some of my patrons, I've noted, I ask them when they clean their filter last, and they don't stay on top of stuff in a preventative way, and then they're dealing with problems. So pool pros need to be more preventive action based, and again, wanting to learn more, because a lot of people just don't know some very basic things, and they're out in people's backyards.
So you mentioned that a mistake is people aren't washing off acid jugs before they sit them right down. That's actually one of my rules. So
Yeah.
I was just published in Pool Pro magazine about safety, and I've got a list of rules, and one of them is when you use acid, put the cap back on, dip it in the pool to rinse
Yep.
it off before you sit it on the deck. My biggest rule, number one, do not mix chemicals.
Yes.
Under no circumstance, I don't care if you're a chemist, do not mix chemicals. This is not a game.
No, not. We've seen a lot of trucks caught on fire recently, actually, several on Facebook and some other social media outlets of people just mixing chemicals. They'll leave cow hypo jug open when it's raining. That's going to catch fire, so you just have to be careful.
It was like last year or the year prior, we had somebody put cow hypo in a trichlor feeder. And when it exploded, because it took out his entire equipment pad. So he had to replace his filter, a bunch of the PVC lines. The feeder, we couldn't find any of it.
Wow.
I think we may have found a 1-inch by 1-inch chunk, but it exploded with so much power that it sent PVC shards across the yard, shredded all of the floats that were out there. And it's just...
Could you imagine standing next to that if that went off?
Somebody would have went to the ER, if not the morgue.
Absolutely.
So do not play games with chemistry, folks. Do not mix chemicals at all. I'm gonna ask you this, and this isn't really anything that we've touched on. What is a secret that a homeowner could that you could tell a homeowner to help keep their backyard a little better?
I guess as far as like the water quality, or just in general.
Water quality, backyard experience.
I think homeowners should be better at when we're not there, because remember, we're only there in most cases 30 minutes to an hour, in most cases a week. So, for pools that are uncovered, check the baskets in between our visits, because that stuff slows the circulation down and then water problems happen. So I would definitely do that. Make sure a path is clear for the technicians to actually get to your pool. I'm amazed sometimes at what my techs send me as far as like, look what I had to take apart in order to service your pool, and also try to keep tab. One thing that infuriates me is someone will have their roof pressure cleaned or their deck pressure cleaned, and the pool's a huge dumpster at that point, and they just expect us to deal with it, So have some courtesy for us and say, let them know, hey, try not to get much in the pool, or you guys have to clean it up, because I don't want my pool guy to have to deal with it. It's not fair to him. That's not a normal service.
Yeah, or it happens. So we'll take care of it. You will too, but it's probably going to be an extra charge.
Yeah, of course. So I just recently had this happen. Pool's beautiful. The Monday we serviced it, I get a text on Friday, hey, my pool's full of algae now and pool's not circulating. So sent my technician back out there. He literally sent me pictures of clay and stone material from the tile roof that was blown off in the pool. The entire pool was covered in a clay dust and just slowed everything down. They didn't mention anything to us, and so we said, hey, we think it's off your roof. Oh yeah, we had that pressure washed. So let us know if something like that happens so we can adjust accordingly and make sure we get it taken care of as quickly as possible.
So it's like those round clay
those
tiles?
the round tile. Some people spray paint those or paint those sometimes, and just had a pressure wash and chunks were in the pool. And
I don't think I have any houses that we visit that have that type
yeah,
of roof.
It's a very nice home, but a heads up would have been nice. So yeah, that would be nice.
Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you feel that we should?
No, I mean we covered everything as far as what a client should look for in a pool service, ways to vet a pool service to make sure you're going to get a quality company, We've talked about, knowledge in the industry is very powerful. We talked about how we're both trying to limit the pool pirate from succeeding. Look, we don't want anyone to not have a job or anything like that. We want the pirates of today to step their game up into the professional realm that we see ourselves in and several other professionals in the area. So the industry thrives as a whole. One thing I do love about the industry is how the camaraderie between pool companies and pool technicians and all that kind of stuff. I help my competitors daily. I'm sure you do as well. If a competitor came up to me and needed help, I would give them help immediately. I wouldn't, oh, you're a competitor, to hell with you. You know what I mean? So I really like that facet of the pool industry as well. But I think we've covered a lot. I think it's a good episode.
Yeah. I don't want people to think that I'm just trying to label a certain group of people pool pirates. Some of those are just pool people that haven't got the education yet.
Or unaware of certain things, how it all works, yeah.
So those people that have good intentions, I want to lift those people
Absolutely.
up. I want to guide those people towards the classes, guide those people towards mentorship, lift those people up, and the pool pirates that are just out there that have a malicious intent, they have no desire to learn and to grow more. They're just there to take people's money and leave. I want to push those people out.
Absolutely. There's one guy in my area who told me he hasn't paid taxes in 10 years. He has all of his checks made out to his personal name. That kind of stuff I can't stand. Those people need to go.
Those people
100%
need to go.
Yep.
And if anybody's listening to this, love you lots. But there's a Burger King right up the road that has a now hiring sign on it.
Yep.
So find a different profession, please. And if you are a pool guy that is just getting into the industry and you want some extra knowledge, you can contact either one of us or go to one of the shows. If you are a homeowner, you can probably contact either one of us. We may or may not be able to answer your question in a timely manner. Certainly for a pool owner, the swimming pool and spa owners group on Facebook is a great resource. There's lots of pros in there. So that brings me to this. How would people get in contact with you if they either wanted mentorship or they wanted you to service their pool?
So you can just search Chlorine King Pool Service. You'll find a myriad of information. You'll find my YouTube channel there. You'll find the podcast there. I'm pretty heavy on Instagram. I try to make a post a day with educational stuff or whatnot. Or you could search me on Patreon. If you just go to patreon.com/Chlorine King, you'll see all the different tiers I offer and all that kind of stuff. So if you guys are out there wanting some help, like he said, reach out to any one of us and we'll be glad to help when we can.
Good. Thanks for doing this podcast with me.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Aquanut podcast. I hope that you have enjoyed. If you have any questions about what we've talked about, please leave them in the comments below. We would love to hear from you. We'd love to get some feedback on what you think we should be talking about in the future, or if you have any feedback about this podcast that myself and Eric did, let us know. Also, if you are watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications direct to your phone or device of your choosing, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching and or listening to the Aquanut podcast. Have a great day.